Today on Kraken's Garage, I share my thoughts on Harley Davidson's 2021 virtual release. Let's get cracking. The virtual launch on January 19th of 2021, Harley Davidson released their model lineup. I've been getting a few questions about my thoughts on it, and I thought the issue had been pretty much beat to death on YouTube by several other content creators, but I thought I'd share my thoughts. It opened up with Jason Momoa, started off with the intro. I thought the backdrop was him in front of his Christmas tree, and it was quite pleasant, and his message and delivery and intro of the CEO was done very nicely. However, I thought it was very amateurish as whoever was filming it was moving the camera around and shaking the entire time. So for as large of a corporation as Harley Davidson is, thumbs down on that from me. CEO Johann Zeitz, he explains how he's a rider and likes a new adventure. So immediately Harley Davidson is going right into selling that these are riders, not just suits on the board. I like that message. I like that they're going there. That he went to South Africa, I think, and probably to demo the Pan America with Jason Momoa. That would be my best guess. Johann talks about how he has been a rider since he was 16, yet there's no media out there of him riding or taking any journeys. I have no doubt he is a rider. I just wish they would validate it more rather than filming the Pan America and having an infomercial with him in it. I think doesn't really do him justice for his credibility. First, they went into the CVOs. They started out with Lance, Corey, Sr. and Jr., taking the CVOs out for a ride. There was a theme here. At the intro of each section, there was 4 or 5 sections of this release, and they would show riders riding the bike, and then they go right into the features and benefits and changes that were made for 2021. So in this case, Lance, Corey, Sr. and Jr. taking the CVOs out. I did like seeing scenic videos of the new bikes being ridden, not a back set of a bar or someplace that is iconic for that bad boy image that Harley's been rolling with for the last 40 years. CVO is the same 4 models as it was in 2020. They all sport the 117 Milwaukee 8, back with no bump and cubic inch displacement. There was a lot of speculation. Harley typically, every so often, will up the ante, up it to a 121 or something of that nature. They didn't this year. They just stuck with the 117 Milwaukee 8. New cast-laced combo wheels. Not sure about that. I mean, it kind of looks like a ADV wheel on steroids. I'm not sure it's proper for a road-going bike, but we'll see if the public digs it or not. I don't know. I really can't comment on that. The Street Glide sports a 19-inch tire this year on the CVO, and the Road Glide sports the largest wheel available on any production bike in the Harley lineup at 21 inches. Brad Richards, Vice President of Styling, and by the way, I commend Harley Davidson getting footage of these folks that are never in front of a camera. It was very polished. Let's be truthful here, they're more polished speakers than I am. And now Harley took these people that are behind the lines and put them in front of a camera and came up with the content they did that was seamless. Beautiful job, beautiful job. Brad discusses the 3 levels of interaction with the CVOs lineups. First one, from far away, you have the striking paint that stands out from the rest of the lineups. Number 2, up close, you kind of consume with your eyes and your sensories the intake and the exhaust. And number 3, the level of detail and design. And they're also rocking new CVO logos and badging this year. So that was a terminology I've never heard from Harley Davidson before, with the 3 levels of interaction. Kind of interesting. CVOs will be rocking a Rockford Fosgate sound system prior to the Boom audio upgrade. I don't quite get that. I think the Boom audio upgrade was sufficient, but they're now sporting the Rockford Fosgate, so there you go. Stitching on the seat is colored to match the paint scheme, so a nice subtle touch there. There'll be 3 specials this year: Road Glides, Road Kings, and Street Glides. There was speculation whether they're going to return. They were kind of tight-lipped about it. They are returning. What's new for the specials is you'll have the option of the black like we did in 2020, everything blacked out, but you'll have the option of chrome on the Road Glide and Street Glide specials. Road King is still the only one that's blacked out. There'll be a $600 decrease in the price if you're opting of going for the chrome on the specials. Apparently it's more expensive production-wise to produce the murdered out bike than it is the chrome ones. So the specials will be sporting the 114 Milwaukee 8. Badging has changed, colors have changed as expected. Harley does a beautiful job on their paint and their color palette on what they come up with and the branding of those names, like billiard ball, teal, and it just whoever thinks of these names really does a killer job in my opinion. LED Daymaker headlight will come standard on the Street Glide and Road King. Road Glide has always had it since I believe 2015. I could be wrong on that. Wasn't mentioned in the virtual launch, so I was kind of surprised they didn't make note of that. That's kind of a big deal. The Daymaker headlight is what, $400? That's a big deal being thrown in the mix. Low profile engine guards. I'll throw a picture up on the screen. It's kind of a odd look, but I do like it in the sense that you have a natural resting foot for your feet for highway pegs and things of that nature. All touring models went to a cable clutch instead of the hydraulic. A lot to do about that, but at the end of the day, Harley spent an inordinate amount of money and time to research, and at the end of the day, the adjustability of the cable clutch was more important to the average Harley customer versus a little bit easier pull. And one of the biggest gripes on the hydraulic clutch is that it wouldn't engage until it was almost all the way let out. There was no real way to adjust that, but you can with a cable clutch. So that explains that. Biggest news in the entire announcement to me is the Street Bob coming in with a 114-inch Milwaukee 8, bumped up from a 107. In my opinion, this is the biggest news as it's equivalent to the S model Softails. For $15,000, you have an entry-level 114 Milwaukee 8. It'll be interesting to see how well that bike does. My prediction is that's going to be, if not their number one, their number two seller for 2021. So I think that was a shrewd move on their part. Ashmore Ellis, founder of Babe's Ride Out, a huge advocate for women riders, did the intro for the Street Bob. It was interesting, Harley Davidson showing the husband staying at home with the baby as she rides off in the sunset. So that was kind of a powerful statement. I'm all about getting women into motorcycle riding. I'm an advocate of it. I've taught many to ride personally, and you will hear me mention it over and over on my channel. It's imperative that we get new blood into this sport, and women are a big part of that equation. Cool graphics on the Street Bob. I really like what they did on that as well. Softail Standard was a semi-chrome Street Bob with a savings of $1,000. 2021 Street Bob has a $400 bump in the price, making it a $1,500 bump from the Softail Standard. But remember, you get the 114. So I think that's a natural bump and worth the money in my opinion. Will this model steal some of the sales from the Lowrider S? I believe so. I think it opens up the door from somebody that doesn't want to drop 18 grand on the Lowrider S. They could drop 15 on the Street Bob and be rocking just about the same bike minus the dual discs. Fat Boy intro was by David Baruto. I never heard of the guy, so I had to Google fu him, and it turns out he's known for his sense of style. He's from Milan, Italy. He fancies himself as an entrepreneur of adventurous life. I think they just got somebody elderly in there to address, I hate the term, but baby boomers, people that are getting long in the tooth, their customer base, that people are quick to throw that statement around. Previous Fat Boys were trimmed in satin chrome. With the release of the re-release of Fat Boy in 2018, in 2021, they changed back to standard chrome. I'm not sure how you feel about that. I really like the satin chrome, and I think it made the Fat Boy stand out. There was so much happening in 2018 with the Dynas being dropped, several of the Dynas being converted over to the new Softail chassis, which, by the way, is light years ahead of the Dyna chassis, believe it or not. You need to go ride one if you haven't. Bill Davison went over the details of the Fat Boy. He is the vice president of the Harley-Davidson Museum. And they also had Karen Davison, who's a marketing director. Again, they get these people you never ever see in front of the camera. I always loved the freight train light on the front end of the Fat Boy. It just looked like a steamroller coming down the road. It will still be passed over as baggers are where it's at, in my opinion. And I suspect that the Fat Boy will be dropped in the next year or two. They're just not moving great numbers of that bike. And of course, they talked briefly about the Pan America and how on February 22nd, their virtual release of that bike is coming out. So they didn't really go into detail. It's interesting. I was really looking forward to this keynote presentation, kind of like a Apple or Mac Steve Jobs type presentation where everybody gets super hyped, wants to go and see what's new coming down the pike. I think they had an opportunity here. Some of it was hits and some of it was misses, in my opinion. Mention the Enthusiast Collection, a new line of bike. My best guess is that's above the CVO, probably limited editions, and that means a much higher price tag. So don't be surprised to see a $60,000 Harley coming up in the near future. So I think they're going after the elite crowd as several notches above the standard crowd. I don't know how I feel about that, but if their marketing shows that they can turn a buck on it and it'll fly for them, we'll see how that goes. I love Harley-Davidson having engineers, vice president, styling and marketing people speaking. That said, I was kind of down in the fact that they really didn't talk about, from their perspective, of their job perspective, of what is really happening with these bikes and how it's going to pave the way for the foreseeable future for Harley-Davidson. It was a glossy brochure on what they shared, so that's unfortunate. I think it was a lost opportunity there. Rockford Fosgate, I don't get that. Seems like a solution to a problem that didn't exist. Everyone that spoke was a rider. I applaud Harley-Davidson on that. Every single one of them was a rider. Who cares? Harley always comes out with new clothes and apparel. I think they wasted some valuable time during that 40 minutes going over t-shirts and jackets and things of that nature when they could have discussed things like the new LED lights that are daymakers that are standard on the specials. Was the 2021 Harley-Davidson virtual release a big deal? Yeah, it was. And I'll tell you why I think it was a big deal. For starters, of course they're not going to talk about this, so this is my thoughts, so take it with a grain of salt. 7 bikes were cut. The Roadster, the Street 750, the Street Rod, the Breakout 114, the Softail Deluxe, the FXDR 114, and the standard Lowrider, but they kept the Lowrider S. So that is whacking out a huge chunk of their lineup on the showroom. That's no joke. They showed that they're a company of riders. 2 thumbs up for me there. Colored bags on the Sport Glide. They really didn't go into detail on that. I think it completes that bike, and in my opinion, if I were to buy a new Harley, since they dropped the ones that I like, I would definitely take a hard look at the Sport Glide. To me, it looks like a wide glide with hard bags that are painted to match. I freaking love it. I think it looks cool. The Enthusiast line, big question mark there, big dollars there. We'll see how that pans out. Pan America, of course, is a big deal. I've already done a video on that. That might interest you on my thoughts on the Pan America. Video of the bikes being ridden. The same format on every one of the intros here. Videos of the bike being ridden led to the story from people that actually work for Harley-Davidson. Biggest concern here for a lot of people is there's no low-price bikes. Zeit's answer to that problem is to rework the used Harley-Davidson market. There's several reasons why this is going to happen. Parts, sales, and service will all benefit. They go out and get that used bike, they get it up to snuff for frontline ready, throw on some accessories, get it tarted up a bit for frontline, and they got a certifiable bike right there that's financeable through Harley-Davidson's financing. It's a great entry-level bike for people that didn't want to drop 18 grand on a Lowrider S. Here's a used Lowrider that you can pick up for 10 grand. I think it's a brilliant plan. I think they're going to focus on the used bike market because right now, quite frankly, used Harley-Davidsons are flooding the market in North America. I can't speak for the rest of the world. Will they appeal to the fragile millennials? Hell no. Nothing Harley sells is going to appeal to the fragile millennials. Like, I stand by that remark. Yeah, there'll be a couple that trickle in, but not very much. Harley-Davidson represents badassery, and fragile millennials don't want any parts of badassery. It's not who they are. And there's nothing wrong with that either. It's a fine line they walk there and still pleasing the older crowd, yet come out with innovative new ideas to capture new audiences. It's a very long video, very long-winded, and it's just my thoughts. I'm just some YouTuber, so don't get riled up. Harley has their work cut out for him. 2021 is going to be an interesting year. I'm going to go take some demo rides on these bikes throughout the year and do quick videos on them. Again, I research stuff way too much, so I dig down into the weeds too much, but there's a lot of information there that I shared with you. I hope you enjoyed it. Here's my ghost dog telling me to wrap things up. If you liked this video, give it a thumbs up. If you didn't like it, give it a thumbs down. If you want to see more in the future, hit that subscribe button right down there in the corner. Go riding, because it's good for you. And I'll see you in the next one.